Good morning, everyone. I wanted to talk about today how to pick an agent that is right for you. And just to preface this video a bit, this is not just a plug for myself because I do believe there's a bit of a matchmaking process that happens for finding an agent that you work well with. Also, I'm only licensed in Washington State, so I am aware people are watching this video elsewhere as well. So this is just my best advice on how to pick an agent that will help you the best way that they can. First thing, I think the most important thing is finding an agent that you trust and really does listen to you. You want to see that they are taking your feedback and changing their strategy based off of what you're saying and not just ignoring it or trying to gloss over it or perhaps even using data and arguments to convince you otherwise. That there is a time for that. I will explain that next. But it's really important that you feel heard because a real estate agent is your advocate when you're selling or buying a home. It's their job to look out for your best interests, and they can't do that if they're really not paying attention to what your best interests are. Part of that, I think is if the agent is prioritizing a sale over your needs. I think we all are aware, like in movies and TV shows, whenever you see a real estate agent character, they're always like frazzled and overwhelmed and kind of manipulative. We have a really poor cliche image of a real estate agent, what they are. I think a part of that is, not entirely untrue though. Unfortunately, there are bad agents out there and our work is commission based. It's sales based. So we do get paid when a sale goes through. So if an agent is coming off feeling a little desperate to make a sale happen, they might not be prioritizing what's best for you. On the other hand, I think it's kind of a shame there's that cliche image of a real estate agent because there are really good agents out there. You just need to make sure that they're listening. And that said, my second point is you also don't want somebody that's just a yes man, that's just saying yes to anything you're saying because they want the sale to go through. Maybe you're offering more than you need to, and they're just saying, yeah, let's just keep going with that because they just want it to happen. Or they're just saying yes to whatever list price you're putting out there. You do want the expertise feedback from the expert, in the field. But the way to decipher, I believe, the difference between somebody just appeasing versus somebody that is listening and changing strategy is if they can explain why. So that's, I think, a really great thing to remember is to ask your agent why do they think you should offer at this price? And why do they think your home should be listed at this? Or why are they changing the contract in these ways? And a good agent will be able to have that conversation with you, have it be a two-way conversation, not just a one-way conversation, and get you both on the same page because you both have the same goal. The goal is to get you a home or sell your home in a way that feels really good. Okay. Next point I wanted to say is find a local agent. So every neighborhood is different. Find somebody that really understands that community. This is true for buying and selling because a local agent might know that there's a trail in this neighborhood that goes to a beach, where another agent from out of town might not know that. Two houses in similar neighborhoods may look exactly the same on paper, but one agent knows about that trail type of thing. And every neighborhood is a unique economic bubble a little bit, especially where I live, Bainbridge Island. We are literally on an island and the real estate's fairly unique here. And so sometimes if there's an off-island agent, they'll price a home super high, just assuming that everything on the island is going to sell high, but not understanding what somebody living in our community, what they really need. So that's part of it too, listening to your needs too, of like, if you tell your real estate agent that being able to walk to something like a trail or a beach or a park is really important to you, and then they're just ignoring that, that's another sign of if they're not listening. And just on the local note too, like a local agent will know what school district a house is in, or even know who to call to find out, what the school district is. We have swing school districts, so sometimes I'll call the office of the school and talk to them and say, hey, where do you think we're landing here? And look at where it was last year, the house next door type of thing. So hyper local, really important. A house, understanding the value of a house is understanding its location. So I think those are the two main pieces. I think somebody you trust. You can also look at somebody that's local, and you can also look at their sales history. You can go on Zillow and research. There's a find an agent and look at how many sales they've been doing. Again, I wouldn't prioritize more sales over trust. You do want both. But I do think that's more important, because you never know the story behind an agent. It's not just numbers. They're people too. The last thing I wanted to end with is, these days in Washington, a buyer's agency agreement is required to sign. This is a contract about going over how an agent is paid, where their commissions is coming from, and hopefully when the agent gives you that contract, they can explain their services a bit. Not every agent is doing the same amount of work. Some agents are just doing the paperwork, none of the extra research and due diligence. Some bigger companies, they actually have not to throw shade here, but like Redfin, they have more an assembly line of people working. So the agent is doing your paperwork while other people are doing the other parts of the transaction. And so sometimes things can be lost there, like nobody's really pulling the septic records and things like that. I know this video is getting long, but another last note about local agents is an example is on Bainbridge we have lots of septic systems, we have wells as well but like in Seattle, Pierce County, that's very rare. So sometimes an agent will be selling a home on Bainbridge for a buyer, and they won't know to look for that and to check that out, or know that that's a legal requirement if you're on the listing side selling houses, to get that inspected and to get that pumped. So that's just an example. An example for the wells is on Bainbridge, some properties that are near the water are having bacteria issues. So knowing what those neighborhoods are, what the risk level is, things like that. These are all, I think, also good arguments for why working with an agent is good, opposed to trying to write up a contract to yourself or with an attorney, because you never know what you don't know. Okay, back to the buyer's agency agreement. I think this is a really great update in general, because it creates a conversation of more transparency about how agents work. It is sometimes nerve-wracking to sign a contract right off the bat with somebody. It is required as soon as reasonably possible. So these days you are supposed to sign it with an agent before they go touring homes with you. So often you may go to an open house and the listing agent may say, "Are you working with an agent? Would you like me to represent you as a buyer? Would you like to sign a buyer's agency agreement?" That can be okay if you trust that agent, if you feel you've made some camaraderie with them. But I will say you don't want them to represent you as a buyer on the house that they're listing. That's something called dual agency, when they are writing contracts up for both parties, but they can't effectively represent you as a buyer. They're not going to negotiate on your behalf. They can do the paperwork, but they can't be your advocate. And often my commission will actually come out of the seller side. This isn't always true. This is always up for negotiation, but often my services end up being free for a buyer. So take advantage of that. Take advantage of having an advocate. Okay, this is turned in longer than I wanted it to be, this video, because I'm obviously opinionated about it. But I hope you find that helpful, and I truly hope you find an agent that works well for you.